Very cool.
Yeah.
John Horn, what was your Thanksgiving memory this year?
Just going to be with the family. Both daughters were in from out of state, so that's good.
That's awesome. Steve?
Yeah, we got to go to Orlando and see our daughter, son-in-law, and 3 grandkids. The son flew down, and then we've done this a couple of years now. It's become a little bit of a tradition on Friday that the son-in-law's side of the family and our side, grandkids and whoever is able or wants to, we have a golf tournament, golf scramble with everybody. So we had three teams of golfers. It's just kind of fun. It's kind of different, but it was fun, just everybody out doing something in common like that. And when you're doing a scramble, it's not about skill as much as just everybody gets to participate. So, yeah.
Question is, did you win?
Actually, no. I think my son-in-law's team cheated. So they were like 8 under. We were one under, and the other team was like 1 over. So you figure it out. That much of a difference. I don't know.
Did you tell him shotgun start does not mean you can use a shotgun?
Yeah, really. That's right. No foot mashies.
That Nike wedge, right?
That's right.
That's good.
How about you?
That's good. Yeah, my Thanksgiving memory this year was I got to go hog hunting.
Oh, did you?
That was fun. Yeah, we went down to Florida to Jacksonville, and we had a good old fashioned redneck Thanksgiving holiday. So
did you get a hog?
I did. I shot a 70-pound hog, and my brother-in-law shot a 120-pound hog. So we had great fun. I don't know if you could call it hunting. So my father-in-law's got a friend that they've been friends for 30 years, and his dad owns 10 acres in North Jacksonville, but it's surrounded by nature preserve, and so you can't hunt on that. And but there's tons of animals, and he's got corn feeders on his backyard and motion detectors, and we literally we hunted from the living room. He had a
back porch.
So he had the back window open with a bench rest and facing.
No way.
And we'd sit there and drink coffee until we hear the motion detectors go off, and we'd shoot the hogs. So
that's grocery shopping.
Exactly. So he'd take his little tractor out in the field with a spreader and put corn on the field, and the hogs would follow him out of the woods. So I don't know if you call it hunting, but we had a good time. So
that's definitely suburban hunting.
Exactly. So we had a good time. Well, I appreciate you guys taking the time to be on the call today. We are recording it for the guys that weren't able to be here. My first question for you guys is, what's your biggest takeaway? You're 30 days out from having participated in the one-day coaching map. What's your biggest takeaway since the training? Scott?
Good coaching is a very thoughtful exercise. It's not something that you kind of make up as you go. It requires planning and preparation and thoughtful questions. It's not something you ad lib or kind of wing.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Very good. Steve?
I would echo that. I'm kind of blank. I don't know what to add to that, Jamie. I mean, like you've been doing this for some time, and so it's some of this has been a good reminder of some of those practices, and I think that's probably the best thing is that it does take some prep time. It doesn't have to be a bunch once you kind of get in a rhythm of it. That you can do that prep stuff, and it's once you've been doing it a while, it kind of becomes somewhat second nature. I think like you and I have talked some that coaching skill becomes second nature to you kind of in your everyday life, and so the prep stuff can not need as much prep because you're living it. It is more of just kind of who you are. And it's not that difficult once you learn how to ask good questions. It's not that hard to ask some questions and get people to unpack and talk through stuff. So that's the main goal, is to get them thinking, get them looking at their own practices and behaviors and what do they need to adjust. And you're just trying to help guide them in that. So.
Sure. Absolutely. Thanks for sharing that. John, what's been your biggest takeaway?
I think that everybody benefits from having a coach, and just the more that you do coaching, with somebody and have somebody coach you, the better you become.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, our next question is, how's your peer coaching going? What are some challenges that maybe you're facing with your peer coaching? So how's it going? And what are some challenges that you're facing? So Steve, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think it's going well. Jesus and I have been meeting, on the schedule that we've set up and talking through. I think the biggest challenge I think I see in both of us is kind of some of the goals and objectives that we've set. It's living up to them. It's accomplishing those, and like for me, one of them that I've set is kind of on more of an exercise regimen, and enough said about that.
Yeah, yeah.
So
absolutely. Well,
I know what it is. I'm just not doing it as often as I've set out to do it. So
yeah. Well, it's good that you mentioned that, because one of the things that we find with new coaches is sometimes they grow frustrated with their church planter in following through with their action steps. And one of the outcomes of participating in peer coaching is for you to know what that feels like, so that you're quick to show grace and mercy, but also redirect and press for action. And so it's good that in one sense that you're experiencing that, so that you will be able to be more understanding with those that you coach. So it's good. Scott.
I'd say the two things that have been difficult about it, if I can say it that way. One is just didn't know Matt at all prior to this, and so it's easy for our conversations to turn into that establishing a friendship sort of a thing. It's really easy for that to just become the gist of the conversation. And then I was sharing with Jamie earlier, life for both Matt and I has been really crazy, which is going to be true to your point, Jamie, of a church planter's life as well. Lots of unexpected curveballs and things like that. And so we haven't been as consistent as we would like. So those have been two challenges that we've been trying to work through.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Yeah. And I think for all of us, we just have to monitor our commitment. That's one of the ways that we talked about at the one-day map. How do I know my coaching is working? Well, we monitor our commitment. And it isn't just the commitment of the planter that we're coaching. Oftentimes it's our own, and so really evaluating, where is my commitment? Is it where it needs to be? And then even kind of self-coaching yourself, what about my commitment needs to change? So it's very good. John.
Hey guys, on the good side, coaching does work, because I got my workout clothes on. I'm on vacation today, so I am, as soon as I hang up here, I'm headed to the fitness center again. So
good for you, man.
Progress can be made there, Steve.
Guilt trip received.
No, I'm just saying that before the peer coaching thing, I wasn't working out. So I made an action step, and it is working.
Yeah.
I think as far as the challenge,
I'm doing it more, just not up to what I set as a standard.
So I'm just
that's where that coaching question of what adjustments, Steve, do you need to make to your action plans?
It's a commitment to my action plan is what I do.
That's good.
But as far as the challenge, I think a couple of Jamie have noticed, we have guys that have never really been coached before, that they're having to learn since they've never been coached before, and now are kind of being asked to coach, just the whole idea of learning to use the rhythm of, complete kind of the peer coaching guide ahead of time, and then formulate questions and formulate and act on the action steps, just the whole rhythm of that. It's taken a few sessions now to kind of get into the rhythm. And I'm feeling like we're making progress, with my partner now, but it's taken several sessions to start getting there with it.
That's good. That's a good insight, John. And I think it relates to some degree with what you were saying, Scott, too, as you guys have begin to develop your relationship. You feel like a lot of the early conversations are that you spend a lot of time building rapport and things like that. And some of that has to do with, there's the lack of experience in having a coaching conversation and being a coach and receiving coaching. And one of the things I want to encourage each of you guys on, and those who are listening to this or watching it later, is that to remember that the coaching relationship is episodic. So it's very similar to a sitcom. And if you took one episode, we probably all have a favorite episode of a show like The Office. But what makes the show like The Office really good is that it's episodic, that you don't just have one episode that you like, but there are things that have happened in various episodes that draw you into that particular show. And the same is true in a coaching relationship, that rapport is built over time, and then action items are completed over time. And the benefit isn't always just one conversation, but it's the episodic nature of all of those relationships. So not feeling as though you need to build this instant rapport all in the first conversation, so that now we can, it's not a mini series, it's an episode, and so we can think of it in those terms, and that helps you pace it out, knowing that over the course of, particularly when you're coaching a planter, over the course of 2 years, you're going to develop that rapport. And while you want to do some intentional things early on, like texting them in between conversations, or in between semesters, taking the guy out to lunch or going to coffee, some of those intentional things that help you build that relationship or help you become more comfortable in the relationship, that ultimately those things will be built over time. So I just want to encourage you guys in that. Just a couple more questions. What's your biggest question related to coaching right now? What's your biggest question related to coaching right now? And think about that for just a second. And I'll start with you, John.
I think Doug and I were kind of just talking this week about where to from here once we've kind of had that fourth conversation with you, as far as getting guys assigned with coaches and that kind of stuff. So that's what we've been talking about. Yeah.
So related to that, on the look-ins, what I've tried to do is I'll send them after the look-in. I'll send a feedback form, and on that feedback form, I'm trying to copy you, John, and Mark Neal, and I can also copy whoever you guys are looking at as being the potential coaching champion for your area, and so that they can evaluate that. And then once they've received that evaluation, then you as a team begin thinking about what would make good matches, and then giving those names and exchanging those names. We do have some onboarding steps that I can send to you as far as ensuring that a pairing and a relationship gets started off well. And we've done several different things in different cities. One of those is you could host a lunch or a dinner with the coach and the coachee, the planters, and make the assignment there. You can do it via email and then follow up with a phone call. That works. And I always encourage whoever's doing that to call the planter and say, hey, this is who your coach is going to be. It's going to be Scott. Scott's a great guy. Scott's been trained. Scott is an effective coach, and he's going to be the guy that you're assigned to. And then pick up the phone and call Scott and say, Scott, this is who your church planter is going to be. Making sure that there's a personal touch to that particular assignment. And so there's a document that I have that's got all of those options, and I can send that to you.
Great. Thank you.
So that assignment happens effectively. And then getting them started by, mid to end January and going through April, and then just following that semester flow. And so we have that semester flow written down, and we can send that to you as well, just so that they know what that looks like. So very good. Scott, what's your biggest question?
I don't have any terribly pressing questions that come to mind. One that I was kind of just chewing on is just what would we anticipate being the most significant differences between those differing relationships? So we're in a peer coaching relationship now. Once assigned to a different coaching relationship, what kind of significant differences might we anticipate, if at all? I mean, maybe it's exactly the same. I mean, people are people.
Yeah. So I think the biggest difference is you'll be coaching the whole time. You'll be coaching for the entire hour, and you won't be receiving coaching. You're seen early on by lots of church planners as the expert. You don't have to be the expert. Obviously, we talked about that you're not giving advice, but you're staying in that coaching role, the asking role. And so I think that biggest challenge early on, in the relationship is seeing how that's different. It's not as reciprocal, doesn't feel as reciprocal as the peer coaching, because in the peer coaching, you're receiving coaching while you're giving coaching. And in the relationship with the planter, obviously you're giving coaching. So that part, is different. So
sure, that makes sense.
Yeah, Steve.
I think, Jamie, my main question has to do with kind of the big picture of all this and how you guys are looking at the coaching process. I mean, some of the terminology that I've heard you say is, we've got the Sin City aspect. You've talked about a champion. How does that unfold? Is there a champion for Sin City and a champion for the whole state, or is there one champion for the whole thing and they're coordinating all of that and making assignments as to who's coaching who? And or is that the role like John's playing, the team leader for church planning? I mean, who is responsible for the whole picture, and how do you guys play into that? Are you guys just the training aspect of it? And then with the report stuff, you're seeing the progress, but there's not necessarily input unless you see concerns, and that's done with the champion. How does that play out on your end?
Yeah. So one of the conversations that we had before is that I believe that Dino had whenever we talked with Mark and John is that each of those would have a champion. Sin Indy,
Sin City.
Yep. So the state would have a coaching champion, and Indy would have a coaching champion.
Right.
As of right now, Matt Thistle is probably going to be the coaching champion for Sin Indy. We just had an initial conversation about that and haven't finalized that. But we saw, because Matt works for Mark, a lot of the questions, a lot of the feedback of back and forth that would be needed between communication between the city missionary and the coaching champion. It helps that Matt's on his staff, and those questions are a lot easier to work. So that's very similar to what we have in Detroit with Wayne Parker, who's the city missionary there. David Ferraro's on his staff, and he also functions as the coaching champion. So that's what it looks like for Sin Indy. And I believe that we had an initial conversation, John, correct, with Jeremiah Kinney.
Yes.
Functioning as the coaching champion. And so what that looks like is, as far as support goes, is for the city missionaries, for the city coaching champion, coaching coordinators provide monthly coaching with them. So for Matt, I'll provide monthly coaching. I meet with him, and 30 minutes of our call is spent on personal coaching. So I'll coach him for 30 minutes. And then 30 minutes is spent on system development and metrics and discussing all of that. We have our team retreat next week, and one of the topics on our team retreat is to talk about how can we service our coaching champions that are inside our states. And so we're hopefully going to have a solution by the end of next week about how we want to help them and how we want to service and help them and support them and resource them, similarly to what we do for our coaching champions within our city of providing monthly coaching. Probably what it's going to look like is that we would do a Zoom call with coaching champions from the state, and it'd be similar to a meeting like this, where we're answering common questions. Within Ring Central and in Zoom, now that NAM's using Ring Central, we can do breakout rooms. So if I did a breakout room, if we had 2 or 3 more people on this call today, we could do that. And what it would do is it would break each of you into pairs automatically, and you guys could discuss a certain topic or coach each other. And as the host, I can see all of it. So then I can provide some feedback. So that's one of the ideas that we have right now to be able to help, especially as states are coming onto the grid. We still want to be able to help them, but do it in a way that's scalable. So that's one of the ways that we support. And then we support by ongoing training. So we have an onboarding retreat that's coming up in April for onboarding new champions. And so we're going to try to get Matt Thistle at that and Jeremiah Kinney on that. And so we'll train and resource those coaching champions to be able to effectively lead. And then in terms of the local, the way that the team works locally. So Matt would obviously work with Mark Neal to ensure that all the coaches are assigned to the church planters. Jeremiah would work with John and Doug and whoever else to make sure that the appropriate matches are made with the coaches to the church planters outside the Sin City. And I would encourage you guys to work together, Matt Thistle and Jeremiah, to mutually encourage each other and be able to learn from each other about what they're learning from their coaches. And then each of those champions, as well as you guys as coaching leaders. So in the coaching pod, you have access to all the metrics for your coaches. And so as far as monitoring your coach's progress and all of that, we encourage you guys to utilize the coaching pod to evaluate where you guys are at with your coaches and what they're doing well, what they need to improve upon, so that we can design future training to assist them to grow as coaches. So did that answer your question?
Yeah.
So that's what the support looks like moving forward. And then long term, as far as training needs are concerned, in the short term, we'll help to provide that. So if you want to train more coaches in this next semester, you say, hey, we don't have enough for all of our planters, then you guys would just communicate with me as your coordinator, and we can get a training on the books. And then the goal long term would be able to train Matt and Jeremiah as trainers so that they could service those needs locally. And if you need our help, we'll come help. If not, then you guys have what you need locally to be able to do just-in-time training.
Okay.
So, very good. Well, our last question, and then we'll wrap up our call. Actually, I have 2. One's, how can I pray for you? But the first one is there anything that I can do as a coaching coordinator for NAM to serve you more effectively? So is there anything I can do to serve you more effectively? So, Scott?
No, man. I mean, I've found you to be responsive if I had questions or anything like that. That's really all you can do. I think resources are available to us to use, and yeah, I'm grateful.
Cool, man. John?
I think it's very helpful, Jamie, today. And I think to have that handout you were suggesting about next steps would be very valuable to me. Thank you.
Absolutely. Steve?
I'm just curious who all was supposed to be on this call.
Everybody who attended the training. So we sent it out. Sometimes this happens. So that's why we record the call. So everybody who attended the training.
Right. That's what I thought.
Mm-hmm.
When I get back in the office, Jamie, I'll send a reminder to everybody that they need to watch that and follow up.
Yeah, very good. Everybody's been very responsive regarding their look-ins. So if they've needed to reschedule their look-in, they've done that. So I think up to this point, I've heard from everybody. So everybody seemed to be on pace with that. So once again, this is kind of a little dipstick for us to see, what progress people are making on their peer coaching. So last question, how can I pray for you? Steve?
I guess the concern I would have is you could pray for my daughter has been diagnosed with MS, and she just recently got a report about maybe some numbers that weren't quite good. So appreciate you praying for her.
Mm-hmm.
Been doing really good, but this report, wasn't really bad, but it just wasn't as good as we wanted it to be. So,
yeah.
Sorry to hear that, Steve.
Yeah. Scott.
We're just trying to get back into rhythm. I mean, Jesse's still recovering from surgery, and so she's. I feel a measure of guilt, kind of getting back in the rhythm and routine, and she's home with the baby and recovering. So just that process would go as smoothly as it can.
Yeah, definitely. And what's the little boy's name?
Isaac.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. John?
I got an email from Mark Neal's secretary yesterday that he fell and broke his leg.
Yeah.
So,
he really broke it.
yeah. So
he's actually having surgery today, I think today or tomorrow.
Yes. So he's my teammate, and we're trying to do some things to try and help his secretary pick up the slack. So
Wow.
I appreciate praying for him.
Yeah, Steve, he was looking out his back window and saw some golf balls on the side of a hill and decided to go get them. And from the way that Matt was explaining to me, it was like the hill had leaves on it. And he got down the hill, got the balls, and was going back up the hill and literally slid all the way down and broke his leg. And it was like Gordon Hayward from the Celtics. He broke the tibia, fibia, and his ankle.
Oh, wow.
So he's got to have surgery to fix it.
Wow.
So.
That's not good.
Yeah.
That's going to kill his jumper.
Yeah. Absolutely. So
You're
I guess
assuming he had a jumper.
That's true. I'm assuming that, yes.
they confiscated they're going to confiscate his phone, right, Matt?
Oh, really?
I think Matt has his phone right now. He's zooming in from his phone right now.
Wow. No, I didn't know that. I'm praying for him.
Yeah, he's scared to death too, going under because his family has a history of heart failure.
Ooh.
So he's he wasn't taking any jokes.
Yeah.
They weren't funny to him. So just pray for him. He's highly relational. So not being able to talk to anybody it's rough.
When is this surgery? When and where?
It's in Fishers. It's it is a God thing. One of our top givers in our church is a ortho, and he just happened to see Mark's picture come across his desk and said, "That's my pastor. I'll take that." So he was able to move him to the front of the line and was able to get the surgery sooner rather than later. Goal is to get him up on stage by Christmas Eve. So
wow.
Is that the Fishers IU hospital?
No, St. Vincent's.
Okay.
I think it's the Peyton Manning Hospital here in Fishers, which they're right across the street from each other, the IU hospital.
Okay.
St. Vincent's.
Is that today or tomorrow?
Right now. He's under right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he went under at 1 p.m.
Okay.
Very good. Well, Matt, we just been debriefing over peer coaching and all of that. And when we hang up this call, I'll send you the recording of our call.
Okay. Thanks.
So Steve, would you take just a moment and pray for Mark and as well as these other requests?
Yeah. Father, we do thank you, Lord, for this time together today. Thank you for Jamie and his prep and his concern and care about these important issues related to ministry and the world of our church planting life. And Father, I do pray today, especially right now for Mark. Lord, I pray that, Lord, you'd protect him from the anesthesia and all of those things that he has as a concern. Give him your peace, Lord. Father, I pray for the doctor that is doing the procedure. Lord, help it, just everything to go exactly like it needs to go. And Father, I pray that mostly that you will bring him out from under this anesthesia smoothly as well. Lord, may your Spirit be the one who is the sustainer of life in this moment. And Lord, help us not to take lightly something that we see happen every day, someone go under anesthesia. Lord, just pray that, again, just all of that would go well and Mark would come out well, safely, and Lord, would recover quickly. And Lord, just give him peace and patience in the recovery time as well. Lord, use Matt and the other staff members around him, Lord, to help protect him during these days. And Lord, we do pray for Jessie and Lord, her health. Just pray that you would help her to heal. And Lord, pray for just the thanksgiving of this new baby, Lord, that you blessed them with, and pray for his health as well. And Lord, for John and things that are going on with him and his life, and this week of vacation, Lord, give him rest. And for Jamie, Lord, the things going on in his life as well, and his family. Father, just thank you for your love for us. And Father, thank you for the opportunity we have to pray for one another and to hold each other up. Father, we love you. We love each other. And we just pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Well, thanks, guys, for being on the call today, and appreciate you guys following through. And I'm praying for you guys that the peer coaching will be a blessing to you. If you have any questions, always feel free to email me, jlamato@nam.net. And if not, we'll see you at your peer coaching look-in hopefully really soon. So appreciate you guys and hope you have a great day.
Thanks, you too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.